Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for How a Small Biz Can Think Big. My name is Kim Stiglitz. I'm with the marketing group here at Vertical Response, and I'm thrilled to have our CEO, Janine Popick, here with us today. Not only is Janine our fearless leader, but she also has an award-winning blog. And in 2010, she was honored as the Entrepreneur of the Year by the Stevie's Awards for Women in Business. So lots of awards and accolades, and 10 years in business here at Vertical Response. So today she's going to share all of that experience and knowledge with us. And just some housekeeping before we get started. About an hour or so after this webinar is over, we are going to post the transcripts up on our blog, and that's at blog.verticalresponse.com. We are also recording the webinar, so you'll be able to click on the recorded version and hear that here. So if you have an emergency and have to run from your desk, you'll still be able to hear that later, or if you just want to rehear it or share it with friends, you can do so then. We also invite you, as we go along, to type in your questions in the question panel, and we'll be screening those and taking those after we go through the questions that were pre-sent in. We have about 10 or 12 questions we'll run through that were sent in prior by our readers and listeners, and then we'll get to some of those that you all type in. So without further ado, we'll get started. So Janine, let's look back before we look forward. Tell me a little bit about how Vertical Response was started, and maybe what was your biggest challenge?
Kim, first of all, full disclosure, you're happy to have me here, but I sit about 20 feet away from you.
Exactly. Well, it's always nice.
How VR was started. So I started the company back in 2001, and basically I always tell people, because I'm a glutton for punishment, it wasn't easy back then to really start a company, but I always tell people if Microsoft was started in the down times and they succeeded, so can a company like Vertical Response. I'd say at the time we were a bit early to market. Small businesses at the time were using email marketing to send messages, but most were really using Outlook because there were only tools that big companies could afford and really understand and use. So I think one of the biggest challenges was convincing small businesses that they needed a tool like Vertical Response, not only for deliverability into the inbox, but also for reporting, the stuff that Outlook just is not going to give you. I'd say the other challenge we had was that we didn't raise a bunch of money to get customers, to hire a bunch of people, or to buy a lot of servers. We definitely were careful about every single dime we spent, to the point where I didn't take a salary for years and only started as the company was doing better. So luckily I had friends and family and frankly my own money to keep the company afloat until we got to profitability, and we didn't actually do that until 2005.
Wow. So they do say 3 to 5 years to reach profitability, and you did that, so congrats.
I'm always in awe of people who second year out are profitable and successful. So congratulations if you guys got there way before me. I'm jealous.
And I think we still hear that challenge from our small businesses, when we go out and we talk to them at conferences and user seminars, where a lot of people may still be using Outlook, and they struggle with that because they can't be really targeted and relevant with their audience because they can't segment their lists, they can't make their email look really pretty. So there's a lot of benefit to using a company like ours to send their email.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's break the ice a little bit too. What's the funniest experience you've had in the 10 years at VR?
The funniest experience I had, if I go all the way back, maybe it was 2002, 2003. Josh has a way better memory than me at these dates, and Josh actually is our VP of Product Management, and he'll be celebrating his 10-year anniversary this March. So he's been here with me through the thick and thin of it. But I do remember that we had this pretty small office in this very building down on the second floor, and the office had a big open area in the middle, and we all had our own offices around the outside of it. And all of us were busy working in our offices, and evidently this woman walked in the door and sat on the lone couch that we had in this big area. And I'm not sure how long she really sat there for. We didn't have a receptionist, but somebody had to, I don't know, use the bathroom or get coffee or something, and they actually left their office and saw this woman sitting there. And so we asked her what she needed, and she said she wanted to buy $20 of email credits in cash. And none of us really knew what to do with cash. She also needed an invoice. None of us really had any invoices, and we didn't really know what $20 of email credits were. After calculating that, we found out it was about 1,538.5 credits, which we had no way of charging her for. Um, so it was you saw three of the five people in the office scrambling around to accommodate this woman who had a nonprofit that she wanted to send email for. It was pretty comical. So we gave her more credits than the 1538 and told her it was a nonprofit discount. I got a Word doc out on letterhead and quickly printed an invoice, and we ended up taking that $20 and going to the local brewery and drinking it in beer. So
Nice.
thank you to that nonprofit
True VR
back in
style.
2003.
And maybe that was the inspiration for the fantastic nonprofit program we have now, which a lot of people might not know about.
Well, we started our nonprofit program pretty early where we gave 15% discounts on all of our products at the time to nonprofits. And I love telling the story. One of our longtime employees, Alf Brand, I pulled him into my office as I normally do when I have some harebrained idea, and I said, "What about if we give 50% away to nonprofits?" And Al said, "Well, why don't we just give it away for free?" And brilliant, I said. So yeah, we definitely have a lot of nonprofits utilizing that program. You get 10,000 free emails a month, and you get 15% on top of that 10,000 discount for email credits. You also get 15% discounts on surveys and postcards. So nonprofits, if you're on the line, check out the program.
Yep, that's verticalresponse.com / non hyphen profits. Okay, so what's your favorite success story since we're talking about how a small biz can think big about a time when VR, because like you said, there were five people, had to think like a big business to get it done?
Yeah, well, like I said, we didn't raise a whole lot of money, so the money we did raise, we had to be really careful with, especially around marketing. But there was this one idea that I had where I thought that there was some traction to localized marketing. So we tested a local marketing campaign here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I, I didn't know how to really track it, but I was just trying to see if we saw an overall blip in sales from our Bay Area or San Francisco businesses. So we did a bunch of things. We bought billboards in areas where there are a lot of shops and small businesses. So you can think Marina, you can think Cow Hollow, and for those of you who are not from San Francisco, those are localized areas where there are lots of small businesses and shops. We bought ads in our local printed magazine, and we also bought some ads in online newsletters where they talked about local events in the area. In addition to this, we sent postcards to the zip codes where the billboards were, and we bought ads on the backs and insides of buses where the billboards were and where we were sending direct mail. So as one or two or three people kind of doing this program, it seemed really big to me. um,
Definitely.
and then for the creative, we thought it would be great if our customers who were really known in that area would be testimonials on the postcards, in the emails, in our ad campaigns. And they did it, and it worked out great. Um, I failed to mention we also did a little bit of radio advertising around this time when we also had our customers on the radio talking about what Vertical Response was doing for them. It started a buzz because owners of the businesses that we featured definitely sent out email campaigns talking about how they were going to be featured on the buses and on the billboards. They told all their friends about it, so people were taking pictures of them on the buses and the billboards. And quite frankly, it was really fun to act like a big company. But I got to say, it was a lot of work to find the bus routes where the billboards were and to target the lists of small businesses in local areas. I mean, I can definitely see where a big business has advantages to having a lot of people be specialized and be able to do this. But it went off really well, and we're actually looking this year to do more testing on it in other local areas since it has been a while.
And just having been here for 3 years, I definitely see the impact that this had because I see, on our website, you see testimonials carrying through. If anybody looks at verticalresponse.com, you can see we actually have testimonials that are very similar to those billboards where people are saying, how Vertical Response has really helped their business.
Well, I always say that the best way a small business, one of the best ways a small business can really market themselves and not spend a lot of money is to provide a really great experience to their customers, so their customers will talk about them and will give testimonials because you're not going to sell your product better than a customer of yours will.
Definitely. I mean, that's what word of mouth is all about, and especially now, this is a perfect transition for my next question about social media. It's all the rage, all the buzz right now, and we hear that as one of the biggest challenges for small businesses is they just don't feel like they have enough time. It's like one more thing on my list to do. So what advice would you give to the small businesses out there who have to do everything and now have to really get on the bus with this, no pun intended, since we just talked about buses, but on the bus with their social media too?
Um, that's a great question. The time is our enemy. Every time we're out in front of our small businesses, all we hear about is, I don't have the time, I don't have the time, and I totally get where you're coming from. But um, and because you have to wear multiple hats, the last thing you want to do is add another thing to your checklist of ways to get or communicate with your customers. My whole bottom line is you just have to. Your customers are on Facebook, your customers are on Twitter. You have to be where your customers are. But it really comes down to finding the right tools and, in my opinion, time management. So I'll give you a little bit of what we do here at Vertical Response, as you know, Kim. But you know, let's start with the blog. So, up until, very recently, I was a sole writer of the blog. I've got help now, but still, I would try to do my blogs on the weekends. I would carve out um, an hour on a Saturday, and I would take all of the things I thought about from the previous week that I had put in a Google Doc, look at it, and then bang out some blogs on the weekends. Um, it's it's that time you have for creative thinking. You're in your house, you're in your bedroom, you're not being barraged by people that need something from you, employees or customers. So you just need to kind of shut down and use an hour to actually do this. For vertical response, we use Typepad for our blog, and it's worked out really well. So that's on the blog side. You also have to create a Twitter account and definitely a Facebook page. One word of caution, and we've heard this time and time again from our customers, keep your company Facebook page separate from your personal profile. You want to build your company and you don't want to attach it to your person. Um, so definitely you'll need a separate email address for that, and you can go ahead and use Gmail for that since it's free. We use Hootsuite here, but I often recommend, from an ease of use point of view, also TweetDeck. This is a service where you can actually manage sending to both Twitter and Facebook when you have something to share to announce to all the people that follow you. It'll cut down the time of logging in to both Facebook and Twitter to be posting things all over the place. Again, since time is always our enemy.
One of the things I've heard from our customers is they really love the social sharing feature that Vertical Response launched. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what impact that has for your messages?
Well, sure. You spend a lot of time on your email marketing campaign. You spend a lot of time on your messaging. There's no reason why you can't utilize that email marketing campaign for your Twitter or your Facebook messaging. So with the social sharing feature at Vertical Response, and I'm sure other email service providers have this, you can publish your email out to a hosted version, which is essentially a web page of your email, and then take your subject line and put it out to your Twitter and Facebook followers so you can get more traffic back to that hosted version of your email campaign. So this really extends the life of your offers to your email audience, and it extends the life of all the work you put into that great looking email campaign.
Definitely, and that's the thing. When you're really time challenged, you really want to leverage as much of the work that you're already doing. So being able to take that email, because I know, even myself, being an email marketing person all day long, I still don't get 100% open rates on my
You
messages.
don't?
No, unfortunately. When I get there, you can promote me. No. But I don't think anybody sitting out there can say that they do the best email of all, even if maybe if you send it to your mom and that's it. But I think that's why you have to give people multiple ways to interact with your messaging. And, Facebook and Twitter and these social media networks are just one more channel for your audience, your readers to interact with you because in any given moment they may be on something different, whether it's email or Facebook or Twitter. So it's just a great way to give them other ways to interact with your brand and your company.
Exactly.
So what do you think businesses should be thinking about when it comes to their email marketing?
So that's a good question. Let's look at it this way. Most of the time, you're not going to be changing your web pages on your site unless you got a new product to announce or a new service. But you need to be always changing the content in your email campaigns. So I'm a firm believer that really everything starts from email. If you think your email is a center point, you put time and effort into that, which is what we were just talking about. It's not only an email, it's also a web page. So, and like I said, I hope everybody is actually utilizing the hosted version of your email campaign. I know, it's nothing we charge extra for, so you just need to start utilizing that. Um, so yeah, it's definitely a center point of where you can kind of push everything out to. So always be thinking of it of your email marketing campaigns that way. I just went through personally. Speaking of, I'll speak on content a little bit here. I just went through a lengthy process, and I'm still in the middle of it. I call it my annual unsubscribe, and that's where
Dun, dun,
my,
dun.
yeah, my husband's pretty sick of hearing about this, but every morning I unsubscribe from about 20 different newsletters that I used to read. And I started to look at why I was unsubscribing from these newsletters. And the main reason I was unsubscribing, well, there's the spam issue, which we will put aside. But the main reason I was unsubscribing from these newsletters was that the content wasn't up to par. So, I know we can all get stale sometimes when it comes to these new ideas. It happens to us, it happens to everyone. But I guess I would say is if you've got nothing to say, don't say anything. Um, but I can rattle off some things I think about when I need to write a blog post or that the team here thinks about when they need to write an email newsletter. So obviously the first one would be any new product, service, new feature announcement. You guys will hear from us when we've got new features either on the way or we're going to release them imminently. So definitely that new product or service, or talking about a new recipe at a restaurant, or talking about a new wine that you're coming out with. So it applies to business and business to consumer. Um, I think a real fun one is actually introducing a new member of your team. You're really putting a face on your business. You want people to know the people who are behind the scenes or people who are going to be working with, your customers. So I think that's a great way to get in front of a great reason to email and get in front of your customers.
And we always hear people buy from people, so really putting a face to it
Exactly.
makes it much more personalized.
Also, a really great offer, discount. We've got a lot of retailers probably on the line that know that this is tried and true, as well as an invitation to an event or webinar, much like you guys got from us, to come to this event. Um, how-tos are really great, and I kind of look at how-tos from a pure business-to-business perspective because that's what our customers really need: how to do email marketing, how to do social media, how to write a great subject line. But you can really extend that into your business, whether it's B2B or B2C. You know, how to wear our scarves, or just any how to pair our wines with certain foods. So it's the weekend, so I'm talking about wine.
How to clean your jewelry, like yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's how-tos can be for really any business. I think another great example is a fun fact about you as a business owner. I kind of joke around here, but your dog, your pet, your company, or somebody in it. I think that's another great way, as Kim said, to really put a face on your business. Another thing that we do here a lot is we talk about industry trends. So, the email marketing industry, what's going on with it. We're digging up, if we're not surveying our customers to find out more about what they're doing with email marketing and then publishing it to our emails, we're looking at other companies that are doing the same and publishing their surveys or their industry trends. So, that might be a great way to get in front of your customers. We talked a little bit about testimonials. So testimonials are great. We feature them a lot in our newsletters, if you've seen. And then finally, one of the most successful things we've seen, is tips and tricks. So again, no matter what your business are, you can give tips, 5 tips to, 3 ways to, 10 ideas for, and people really love those ways to either make their lives better or make their jobs easier.
And it's interesting from this list, any one of these ideas could serve as a solo, so it's just really targeted, short copy, or you could do a blend of these different things for a newsletter because your newsletter really should be, a little bit of news, maybe an offer and how to, a did you know, just a variety of things to really make that content interesting and have a little something for everyone in there. So.
Absolutely. If you go to the Vertical Response blog, Rarely will you see things about our product, our service, that sort of thing. It's more along the lines of a how-to. We've also got, yeah, Kim, I sent you the pet camp blog.
There we go.
Yeah, this is a customer of ours, and I think they do a
Aw.
great job at posting to their blog. You know, the reasons for them to post is they take pictures of their day campers and post them to their blog. And then, of course, what happens is, you know, moms and dads will check the blog and then send out emails to all their friends saying, "Hey, look at Rusty and what he's doing in the pet camp today." And that actually probably drives pet camp business, or people that didn't know about pet camp to maybe consider having their pets go to that place, the next time they're going away, or even for a day camp. So things like this are just a great ideas to communicate to your customers. I'd finally say, from an email perspective, you've got to be making sure that people follow you on Facebook and Twitter. We talked a little bit about that 100% open rate. You know, your people aren't always on email, they're not always on Facebook, and they're not always on Twitter. But if you can cover all of those bases, your chances of getting access to them and getting in front of them are way better than just doing one. So yeah, we're big proponents of that. And then the last thing I'll say, in the interest of saving time, and this is kind of this goes to vertical response and probably other email service providers. Find the right look for your email campaigns, and once you get that template that works for you, make a copy of that template every single week, month, however often you're doing your email campaigns, and then change up your content. This definitely cuts down time of creating new emails from scratch every single week. So in our actions menu, we have a little copy campaign, and that could actually save you 10 to 20 minutes of time every single week if you're creating them from scratch.
I'll let you in on a little secret. That's what we do. Just in case you didn't know that. We leverage that
I
all
will
the time.
I will say though that there is a note. I always tell people to test. So once you find that template, that look that works for you, you might want to, every so often test a different look to see if it actually drives a better response for you. But once you find that baseline and you've established that, use that to save you time, because again, I know time is of the essence.
Definitely, and even you could keep, the main template and then really test the layout as well. And so that's something we try to do, without switching it up too much because we want people to be able to know where to look to find what they're interested in. But we can maybe move something into the main copy or move something to the right column and just see what kind of effect that has on our click-through rate. So it's actually really fun to be able to do that kind of thing, and it doesn't take a lot of time. The other thing I wanted to follow up on and just say that something we've noticed a lot too, as you mentioned, making sure you're promoting people to follow you on Facebook or Twitter in your emails. And we've really seen a rise in this going out in our campaigns at Vertical Response from our customers, is really sending out a solo campaign just to say, like us on Facebook, and tell your readers and your subscribers, what do they get for that? You get an exclusive Facebook offer, or really trying to integrate those two things. We have a user seminar coming up, and we sent out an email and we said, use this Facebook only promo code. So it's really driving people back and forth between those two vehicles.
That's great.
So, are there any other areas that you think SMBs can take advantage of when it comes to getting or keeping customers? Because we know keeping customers is cheaper than getting new ones.
I know. Well, we haven't even touched on having a website or really optimizing it. With simple search engine optimization on your website, you can really easily see results. I know that we've gone through a pretty extensive SEO program in the past year, and it's really shown that it definitely makes a difference in our natural search results. So again, these are the results on the left-hand side of Google or Bing when you're searching on something, not the pay-per-click, which is the top and the right. I mean, so if you're on the 10th page of a search result, or even the 8th page of a search result for the products or services you sell, you're probably not going to get those customers that you really want. So here's a great thing to do. Go to Google's free keyword tool and type in what you think your keywords are that people are going to search on when they look for the products or services or business you sell. Kim, I've got a screenshot of that. Is
Yep,
that up?
it's up.
Great. So see how many average monthly searches are done for that keyword. If there are many thousands, you need to make sure your page is optimized for that. So in this example, do you see where email marketing is our keyword and it's got a ton of searches on a monthly basis? If you go to, I believe, the next slide, you can see our title tags. The title tags are those words that are at the very, very top of the page on your website. Our top keyword happens to be email marketing. So you see that's the first keyword in our title tag. And so I would ask you, are your keywords in that area? And if they're not, you're missing, I think, huge opportunities. Um, it, Going forward from that, it's really easy to see where your title tags are. I'm on a Mac, so bear with my slides. Is it, Kim? Do we have the one up? Okay. You go to the View Page Source on any web page you're on, and it's going to show you where you can find the title tags for that page. If you're not showing your keywords in there, those those words are not going to be appearing at the very top of those web pages. So you need to be either doing that, researching your keywords, or talking to your webmaster about how you can get your keywords in those title tags. Google is very particular about liking that. There is a resource that I've toyed around with that I think is pretty cool, and it's called Bruce Clay. I think it's just bruceclay.com.
And we'll have a link to that in the blog after this webinar.
Great. There are a ton of free resources on that site that could help out, at least define what you need help on. I think for lots of smaller businesses, they might be expensive to help, but at least those resources are there for you to maybe show your webmaster or kind of dig into yourself. Aside from search engine optimization, I think another area that can be really fun and get the word out about your business is videos. I'll talk about an example of this. Last year already? Last year. When Vertical Response ran a video contest, it was called the New Deal for small businesses. We gave out $10,000 and split it between 3 businesses. We used a flip cam, so it was pretty cheap. We had a video of me introducing the contest to kind of get it started. We sent an email to our customers, and we asked whoever wanted to be in the competition to go ahead and make a video about their business and why it's great, why it's going to help the economy. And most of the companies that actually created videos, they were under 2 or 3 minutes, and they even mentioned Vertical Response and talked about what they would do with the money, which I thought was really cool, a great offshoot. We then had them posted on a site and on YouTube, and people had to vote on them. So what ended up happening was that they put it out on their Facebook pages, they put it out on their Twitter pages, they sent email campaigns to their customers asking them to vote. So it got really viral. And we got a ton of traffic, some who probably never even heard about Vertical Response.
And of course, we had a nice call to action button to sign up if they didn't.
Exactly. I think we have a screenshot of that.
Yeah.
Is that up?
Yep.
And also, it was great for company, for morale, because we also got to give away to some really great businesses some money that actually helped one business open its doors. And those customers actually continue to talk about us to this day. Do you want to say something? Okay. Well, I would say if you don't want to go that big and make a contest out of it and all that jazz like we did, you definitely don't have to. We posted videos, Kim, if you can bring that up. We posted videos to YouTube taken on a flip camera. We went around to a lot of our employees talking about their areas of specialization within our small business and how we do things. And each one was like under 2 minutes. And they were basically how-tos. And now they're getting thousands of views.
You got a lot of views. I only got 500.
Yeah, but I think you did 2 or 3 videos.
One of my favorite videos I've actually seen from one of our customers, and you talked about really integrating personality, and you mentioned the dog, and it always makes me think we have a winery who did an email where they had shot a video from the winery dog's point of view and giving a tour of the winery, and it was so great. It was so brilliant, and just, it had such a great voice to it, really approachable, and yet they used it to really educate about their winery, and it didn't come off salesy because it came from the point of view of a dog, and you even had the little bit of the of him panting once in a while, and it was really great. So, you can use video as appropriate to your business and really let your personality shine through.
Get creative.
Definitely. So tell me a little bit about like if you wanted if a business to post a video that they might not have all this equipment, like how could they do something pretty easily?
Well, you can always, if you're on a Mac, you can use Slideshow. I'm sure there are lots of companies out there that do this. Right now, and Kim knows this. That's the softball question. Right now, I'm in love with Animoto. And Animoto enables you to, and I have no stock in this company. Animoto enables you to upload pictures and create a 30-second video. And what they do is you choose sort of a template, and they basically mash all your pictures in there. You choose some music, and you've got a great video about new products, new services, your company employees, really anything you want to showcase for your business. And again, for 30 seconds, it's free. I think after that, it's like $30 a year or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and there'll be a link to it in the blog, and then you'll also see the video that Janine created for our 10th birthday next week. That'll be in our newsletter on Monday. So it's really fun and easy to use. So, how can a small business compete with these big guys out there who have these big budgets? And like you said, when you first got started, like you had to be really creative with every dime you spent. So, what advice do you have?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. I mean, you can sit there and say, oh, yeah, there's lots of ways to do it. Social media is one, that sort of thing. But, I think really from the big guys, from my perspective, the big guys actually get in their own way. Most big companies, big corporations have overprocessed themselves from marketing to sales to, it's hard to get anything done. We all know that when we're dealing with big companies. But I think small businesses really have the opportunity to develop relationships with their customers. You can put a face on your business. More often than not, like you said, Kim, people want to do business with people, not necessarily just websites. We find that when we're talking to people, people love that we pick up the phone and talk to them. When we give a user seminar, people love to meet the people behind the website. That's vertical response. So, definitely developing those relationships with your customers, especially your best customers, are going to be great, and they're going to advocate for your business more. I think the other thing is small businesses can pick up the phone and talk to their customers when they call. Lots of these big businesses, they just look at sort of, their call center as that, a call center, not like a real customer communication outlet. Um, Whoever's picking up the phone at any small business should have their own personality, in my opinion. I don't really believe that people should be scripted. If you hire somebody for a reason, you should let their personality show through. That's my opinion.
And give them the empowerment to actually help customers. I think that's one of the things when you're calling and maybe you're having an issue and it's like you really want to be able to hear what you can do. What can we do for you? How can we help you?
Exactly. The other thing I think is important and often overlooked is small businesses to have a contact management system where you collect pieces of information every single time you have an interaction with your customer. So whether it's on the phone or whether they come into the shop or what have you, ask them for their birthday because you're having a birthday club and you want to send out coupons or free gifts for being a loyal customer. So having and Zoho is a great small business. Big Contacts is a great small business contact management. Obviously, Act and Salesforce.com. They all offer some great opportunities for you to have all your data in one place. The other thing, and I'm a big proponent of this, is obviously since we started ours back in 2005, was create a blog. You can write about your products, your services. You can include some fun facts about what happened at the store or the restaurant today. It really lends personality to your company, and you know you can be that way in a blog. Maybe some businesses, maybe they're business to business companies and they have to be a little bit more serious on their website where they're offering downloads of white papers and guides. Your blog can be a little more lighthearted and can come from the voice of a CEO or the voice of people in your company. So
It
that's
gives
it's a great opportunity.
and it gives you something to link to in your email marketing
Right.
too. You can have your bigger content there. We do this a lot. We'll just have a couple of lines of the blog and then say, click here to read more or click here to learn more. That way your email doesn't have to be terribly long as well, and you can have that more approachable voice and kind of have some fun with it. So you don't always have to be writing in this kind of stiff voice.
Yes, I know. I hate that. I would, in the infamous words of Andy Cernovitz, I would definitely say make your customer experience as remarkable from the moment a potential customer finds you until they buy and after. Um, Again, the most inexpensive marketing you can do is to get your customers talking about you. And, the big companies are going to be tough to get this down. There's very few apples of the world.
This is something we actually hear a lot from our customers about why they may feel apprehensive about getting on social media because they feel like, oh my goodness, what happens when somebody goes out there and tweets something negative?
Right.
And, we look at that as an opportunity to really get to, hear some feedback from a customer, but also be able to kind of address that and hit it head on. And I had an experience on Valentine's evening where there was someone who had a problem with her email campaign, and I was able to jump on there, and we tweeted back and forth a couple times, and by the end of that interaction, she was happy as a clam, and everything was fine. Not to say that it'll always turn out that way, but look at it as that opportunity. And even if it doesn't turn out, peachy keen and everything's great, at least that customer knows that you're there for them
Yep.
and that you are paying attention and you're listening to those conversations.
Couldn't agree more.
So, yeah. So, because you have so much time on your hands as the CEO, what are some of your favorite blogs or small business resources, or maybe a couple of people you follow on Twitter?
Okay. Well, first of all, I love Inc. magazine, and it's not just because I'm a writer, a blogger for them. I actually think it's a great resource for not only inspiration and how-tos, but really looking at stories of other small businesses that are in the same boat that I am, or might be, or have been. So just getting that feeling of, oh, other businesses are going through the same things I am. And I also really like duct tape marketing. I love Copy Blogger, Brian Clark. I think Copy Blogger breaks it down for you on ideas on how to write copy for landing pages, for emails, for websites, and it's actually a really fun read. Again, we talked about that stiff corporate speak. That's not this at all. Um, I follow Insider on Twitter. I think those guys are great. They keep me in the loop of what's going on in my own industry. And also, I love Mashable. I love seeing what's new on the social media front and gadgets.
Yes, I actually retweet Mashable quite a bit just because they have really relevant content. It's not just for people who are email marketing or social media kind of experts or anything like that. There's just tons of stuff for small business. Great stuff. So we actually have a few audience questions coming in, so I'm going to make a shift over to those. The first one I have is really, where is email marketing headed? I mean, you've been around in this industry for 10 years and you've seen a lot of changes, but what do you think is kind of on the forefront now? What's coming?
It's kind of interesting. In 2002, I had a board meeting, and one of my board members said, "This email marketing thing, it's not going to last, is it?" And I was like, "Well, I kind of built a company around it, so I kind of hope so." So, email marketing to me, I mean, the spend is going to be $2 billion in 2014, and quite frankly, most of it is going to probably be in retention email. So I was reading this report by eConsultancy that showed that of the 1,000 businesses that they surveyed, 500% of them, I'm sorry, of the 1,000 businesses surveyed, um, a bunch of them said there's a significant increase in the um, return on investment from email that is more than 500%. I got that a little screwed up. So return on investment being 500% for any small business is enormous. So, in my opinion, more and more small businesses are going to see their friends who have small businesses, their friends who have nonprofits, really looking at the return that those guys are getting and even coming on board now. Right now, there's 25 million businesses in the United States. If you look at all of the ESPs that are serving the small businesses, it's still a small percentage of those 25 million, and that's not even looking at beyond the U.S. borders. So email marketing has just got a ton of legs on it. It's still the thing that people check every day. I may not check Facebook for a couple of days. I may not check Twitter for a day, but I'm certainly in my email all day long. So definitely as a result, it's still that central way for businesses to communicate with their customers. And then going beyond that, tying social media into, the ever-changing email newsletters, that's going to be really important going forward, as well as email for mobile devices.
And we hear a stat, the DMA comes out with their yearly stat every year, and they say for every dollar that you spend, you can expect to receive between $42 and $43. I think this year it's $42 from your email marketing. So that's one heck of a ROI, especially when you think an email credit costs about a penny and a half. So you can get a whole lot of bang for that single buck.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, this is another question from our audience. In regards to creating revenue with email marketing, what are some best practices?
I mean, I think the single best practice any business can do is list segmentation. If you know that customers who are buying product X also buy product Y, then you need to get those products in front of those particular customers. And I think all too often, because of the lack of time, people are what I call doing the spray and pray method. Instead of really looking at their customer list and saying, wow, if I just isolate this group of customers, I can get a better response rate and not burn out the rest of my list. Another example would be if you know that your customers who have Gmail accounts respond better to a message over Yahoo recipients, and go ahead and segment by that. It's going to be the best way to get that best response from your customers.
So interesting you bring that up. How would someone know that their Gmail responders are better than their Yahoo responders?
Well, I know Vertical Response does, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you all the great things Vertical Response does. But most email service providers are probably going to provide you with a report that shows by domain how your email recipients are responding. So it should be pretty easy to slice and dice your data by any reporting that your email service provider is providing for you to be able to squeeze the extra response out of your customers.
Okay, and here's a question because the news came out about a month and a half ago about this Facebook messages. What impact do we think that's going to have? And, I can take this one because I know I'm like on crack on Facebook. I'm on it all the time. I recently had to go on a detox. But really, we're not seeing Facebook messages as something that's going to take away from the traditional email marketing where you would be sending out your business messages and things like that. It's really more about how are people messaging each other, friend to friend, not so much business to customer and things like this too. But it will definitely be interesting to see how that develops. And Facebook has always got something new that they're coming out with, so it's interesting to kind of sit back and see how that will develop as well. So what are some best practices about generating traffic from your email marketing campaign, Janine?
So I actually think a lot of links are, it's definitely the way to go. We actually have done some testing where we found buttons are actually working better than links, and some, for some newsletters. But definitely the amount of links should be pretty significant. Um, you should definitely have a forward to a friend link in your newsletter. Whether they're using that link and inputting the email addresses in, using that link, it doesn't matter. Just having the forward to a friend may make them say, hey, maybe I'm going to, using my email client, forward this message to a friend. So you're not going to get all of the tracking on forward to a friend, but at least having it in there is going to help you and not going to hurt you. I've also talked about using the hosted version of your email. I can't stress more of how important this is. You've got an email campaign that's going to go into your users' inboxes. The reason you have a hosted version is if people can't see it in the email, but also you have the hosted version so you can send people from Twitter and Facebook and your social networks to go to that page, again, extending the life of your email. So again, bringing all that traffic back to your email as the central point.
And you mentioned buttons, which I'm totally in love with. And we have some people may say, well, how do I create buttons? And we have information about this on blog.verticalresponse.com, and we'll include the link in our follow-up for you because it's a lot easier than you think. You don't have to have a design team. You can do them yourself. You can make them any color. You can do all kinds of great things with them. So
I have resorted to sometimes making buttons in PowerPoint and then taking a picture of them and putting them in email campaigns.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's and that's kind of fun part about email marketing is you have to be a little bit MacGyver with some of these things, and you'll be surprised how much it works. You don't always have to have some professional thing. Just making a button in PowerPoint, it can totally work. So I have a question you've probably never heard before, and I say this with a little sarcasm. How does someone grow their list with email marketing?
I could spend days on the subject. So
it's her favorite question.
I used to do a blog post every single month about 5 ways to grow your list. And so those 5 ways are definitely on the blog, blog.verticalresponse.com under list building. But, quite frankly, I thought that our users and other people probably had even better ideas. So we started verticalresponse.com /list building bank. And there are some great innovative ways for people to grow their list. I encourage you to contribute to the list building bank. And there are plenty of ideas there from me, but also really great ideas there from the rest of our customers and the rest of our users. And Kim, is that going to be in the
Yep,
resources? Great.
absolutely.
We have some more questions. Are you ready for these, Janine?
Maybe.
I'll give you an easy one first.
This is Jill Bastion, our training and
Jill.
education manager. She's relishing actually turning the tables and answering the questions.
What are the 2 or 3 measurements or metrics for evaluating the success of an email campaign? What measurement results would be considered excellent, good, fair, or a failure?
So measurements to really look at how your campaign is doing is going to be, one is going to be your click rate, one is going to be your open rate, and one is going to be just your overall, sales slash response rate. I mean, especially if you're selling a product. Did the product sell, and did it sell through email marketing? If you use Google Analytics, Vertical Response definitely has a Google Analytics tie-in, so you can tie your sales right from your email marketing campaign to your website. When I talk a little bit about clicks, I'm bullish on clicks. That's why I say lots of links in an email. Your click rate is going to be, I think, your second most important, and the third most important to me is your open rate, because your open rate is not an exact science. Email service providers use a pixel in HTML emails to tell you how many times your email has been opened. And the flaw in this is that if your recipient is using an email client that has images turned off by default, that pixel will be turned off by default. So you won't get the open. It's a good gauge to how your email is doing, but it's not the end-all be-all. To me, the end-all be-all is how many people clicked and how many people did what you wanted them to do, which was download a guide, download a white paper, buy a product. So those are the things you really need to be looking at. Now, from a percentage of opens and percentage of clicks and how you're doing, it depends on list size, it depends on industry. I will tell you that we have seen large retailers get 12 to 14% open rates and 1 to 2% click rates on very big lists. We have seen wineries get 40 to 50% open rates and 5 to 10% clicks on their email campaigns. So I mean, I hate to say it depends, but it's one of those things where it depends on if you're emailing to a list of people that you haven't emailed in a long time. That's going to be lower. It depends on if you're emailing to a list of active customers. That's going to be higher. So really start to look at those segments of your list and how they're doing.
That's perfect. That leads us to our next question.
Well, we also have a guide that we just published this week on our guides page that will help you with your reporting statistics as well, and it has some of the numbers that Janine was just quoting for you and tips to increase your open rate or your click-through rate, whatever your goal is. So you might want to take a look at that. And actually, before we go to the next question, let's move to our resources slide. You can still ask questions, but these are some resources that we've been discussing today. Blog.verticalresponse.com, that's where you're going to see the recorded version of this as well as the follow-up blog to your questions. Our marketing lounge has lots of resources. And our next question, is there a tutorial for segmenting your list? The answer is yes. I'll just say that so Janine doesn't have to.
Yes.
There are actually quite a few tutorials because there's different ways that you can segment your list. So if you go to our help site, which is up on your resources screen, help.verticalresponse.com, and click on the link that says lists, you'll be able to find the segmentation videos there. There's also some text tutorials. And on the recorded webinars tab, there's a recorded version of a webinar on using our segmentation tool. And at the bottom of this resources page is the link to our marketing guides, which will have more on the reporting that we were just talking about. So here's a tricky question for you, Janine.
Great.
I thought this was an interesting question. There's 2 parts to it. My country filters Facebook and Twitter, so what other communities can I use to connect with my customers? And a follow-up from the same person, what are the ways can we influence our customers that will be memorable for them?
Okay, so Facebook and Twitter is interesting. There are probably country-specific social media networks, but there are also networks like Yelp. Depend. We even have people reviewing us on Yelp. It's not necessarily just for restaurants and that bars and that sort of thing, but Yelp is for all kinds of businesses. Kim, do you have any experience with other social networks
Well, I,
from different
Well,
countries?
well, I think just kind of getting to the second part of this question, where it's like, how can I make the influence and make it really memorable for them? And I think, like you said, the blog is really, people don't think of that in a traditional way, but it's really a way to have that personality and reach people. And blogs aren't getting filtered like Facebook and Twitter and things like that. So I think that's a way where you can really connect and engage and make it memorable and through your email. Twitter started out as a micro blog. It's 140 characters or less. And my challenge with Twitter is how can you really be really memorable in 140 characters? You have to be short and sweet and succinct. But having a blog is really a way where you can make those connections with your customer, and that's what it all boils down to.
And I'm not sure what country we're talking about here, but there's also, if you've got a localized business, there's also Foursquare,
Definitely.
and there are also lots of communities out there. I mean, we've got our own community, and there's lots of communities out there you can be a part of and contribute to in order to get your word out there. So it's not just it's not just emailing and pushing it out to Facebook and Twitter, but you can push it out to a variety of communities that where um, people are following your industry.
We have a funny question. Do you hire people to work remotely? I love your company. Aw, thank you. We'll talk later.
Yeah, we actually have a hiring at verticalresponse.com or verticalresponse.com slash
Slash
hiring
jobs.
slash jobs. Yeah, so anybody who's on, I know we are looking for people and look to see if there's a position on our job site in order to accommodate you.
um, Here's a question. What are you doing for mobile devices?
Currently, we're doing a lot of education around what to do for mobile devices. As you can imagine, a lot of people are checking their email these days on mobile devices. Um, my theory is that they're checking their email, but they're not necessarily clicking on links or doing things with them. They're making a decision when they check their email on their mobile device if they want to ditch the email right then and there or they want to look at it later. So what we recommend is using the pre-header for your emails, and that's actually the first line of copy that you can put in your email. And with a lot of mobile devices, that's the line of copy people are going to see right after the subject line. So for me, in my iPhone, I have 5 lines of copy that is the default, and so I'll see the subject line and the pre-header text first, and that's going to allow me to decide if I actually want to do something or save this email so I can view the whole email on um, on my computer later. Um, but there's a couple other things with mobile that we're educating. Keep your don't keep your make your email too long if you think a lot of your users are going to be reading your email on a mobile device. You don't want them scrolling down and down and down to find the message. And a lot of times the mobile devices will cut your message off and it'll ask you, do you want to download the rest of the message? You don't even want to go there. Um, you definitely want that click to view in a browser, the hosted version of the email. That's another reason, in case people are seeing something weird on their mobile device, they'll be able to click to view it in a browser. And then, we definitely tell people to put a phone number into their emails so they can actually have that click to call link if they have a question about your products or services or they want to buy right then and there. So we're doing more around education with mobile devices than ever.
So we're coming to the end of our time. So I just wanted to ask one final question because now has VR, I want you to get a little sentimental with us now. VR has now reached the double digits and gotten all grown up. What are you most excited for as you kind of turn that corner and head into the next decade of VR?
I'm really excited. I think this year, Vertical Response has gone through, a lot of ebbs and flows, as they say, and I think that we've got an amazing team here who can really push out the messages, the features, the products that we really need and that our customers really need to grow their business. I'm excited to be in front of customers. We've got a bunch of user seminars that are coming up. I'm excited for our team to be in front of customers because there's nothing more exciting than being in front of the people that use us every day or every week and have input into our company and have input into our product. So I'm really excited about that. I think we've got a lot of great things coming down the pike, especially in the social media sphere, which we'll start to tell you about very soon. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have this great company that I think is great, and these amazing customers that hopefully we help grow every single day, and we'll continue to do that in the next decade.
Well, great. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our listeners for joining us today. We should do this every week. Janine just joked. No. So thank you, everyone, and look for this about an hour from now on blog.verticalresponse.com, and have a great long weekend. Take care. Bye.